The Hastur was close enough to the Valhalla for laser communications now, so Cozy was preparing to call in. The bridge was still not in full operation, but the bodies had been cleared, and more than half the stations were manned, though the life support systems were being monitored by Ged rather than a member of crew.
"This is Captain Cozy of the Hastur. Are you reading me, Valhalla?"
The wait was brief but tense, when the handshake occurred and the hologram of General Wuzzles appeared.
"Good to see you, Captain. We have you on sensors."
"We have sustained heavy damage and significant crew losses."
Cozy swallowed hard before continuing.
"But we also have 2 paramedics aboard and a licensed bounty hunter who all need safe passage."
Glancing at Ged for a moment, the General nodded.
"We have several support vessels with us. I am sure we can organize transport. We will see you in an hour, Captain."
Cozy relaxed as the call ended. It wouldn't be long before the lost crew would be recovered, and the Hastur given the care she needed. Opening the shipwide comms, Cozy informed the crew of the awaiting support ahead. Callie awoke to the sound of alarms. She hadn't heard them since the Kraken captured the platform. They were calling for all crew to abandon station. Leaping from her bed and making for the door, she could see several members of the crew in the hallway, beleaguered and confused. It didn't take long for a Kraken to turn into the hall.
"All must abandon this place. Escape pods are available. 1 hour remains."
Its grating voice caused Callie and several other Karnath to cover their ears, but the message was clear. An hour gave Callie and the rest of Venus One crew time to pack, the Kraken returning every 10 minutes with an updated announcement. The escape pods were on override, so none could leave until the Kraken released them all. At the 10-minute warning, the Kraken remained to oversee departure. All 50 crew filed into escape pods, 5 per pod, giving them extra room for their bags, and at the count of 0, the pods sealed and launched, following their prescribed course to a safe location 100 kilometers from the platform. Marlowe sat on the ridge, Hakor lying a few meters away, stable but unable to travel. He'd been in and out of consciousness, but Marlowe learned that he was the heir of Vetch. But Marlowe didn't know Vetch either. It had been quite a struggle to drag Hakor from the shuttle, and the shift in weight had caused it to fall into the canyon below, so he had transmitted a distress call, hoping for rescue. The clouds above were filled with the flashes of battle, the heat blooms of engines and explosions. The war was definitely still raging above, but the thick air prevented the sound from reaching them. They'd been waiting for 2 days, but Mallow wasn't expecting a rescue so quickly. With the war raging above, it was likely to be a week or more. As he enjoyed the scene beyond, he heard Hakor stir, rousing from sleep once more, still delirious from the wounds. He called out for someone,
"Lash!"
before falling back into slumber. That had been the 8th time he had called out that name, so Marlowe scratched another mark in the rock beside him. The Valhalla was part of a fleet, a dozen ships in all, though only the Valhalla was a combat ship. Cozy could see 2 mobile shipyards, fuel ships, and several medical frigates, just what the Hastur and her crew needed. The final approach to the fleet was coordinated. The Hastur ordered to dock with one of the shipyards, so they could begin repairs. A shuttle was also heading for intercept, the General himself coming aboard, so Cozy was waiting by Port 2. He could hear the shuttle docking, its locks engaging, and air pumped into the gap. The door didn't open smoothly, jerking a little at the beginning and again at the end of its movement. General Wuzzles standing beyond with several medics. He was standing to one side, allowing the medics to head aboard and directly for medical.
Captain,
Wuzzles stepped to the threshold, smoothing his uniform with a paw.
Welcome aboard, General.
Cozy stepped aside and gestured, Wuzzles stepping across the threshold from the clean interior of the shuttle to the damaged and stained interior of the Hastur.
you mentioned a bounty hunter,
He inquired as they headed for the bridge.
Yes, a Veston by the name of Ged. He was very helpful in getting us moving again.
Cozy added. He was grateful to Ged. If he hadn't shown up, the Hastur would probably still be stuck in low orbit.
The UNS are grateful for his assistance,
The General replied. It wasn't much longer before they were on the bridge, Ged still manning the life support console. Heading directly for Ged, the General took a formal stance.
Ged,
The query caused him to give the General his attention.
on behalf of the UNS, I am authorized to offer you a reward for your service to the Hastur.
Wuzzles initiated a transaction, sending a large sum of money to Ged's account, before nodding and turning his attention to the ship and her crew. Tight, air of woe, rose from his seat. Amidst the arguing, Janna noticed the move, as did several other councillors, though the tirade of accusations continued. The Kraken advisors fell silent moments later, the only voices those of the UNS representatives, though they soon stopped, all eyes on the patiently waiting Tayat.
This has solved nothing. The Kraken and Silrine shall not allow Venus to be transformed. You shall make no further attempts. The war is over.
At that, Tayat struck the table before him, the heavy thud ringing through the room. Within moments, Janna received an incoming call from the city's mayor. They have detected numerous massive explosions. The UNS representatives were receiving similar reports from across Venus. The news feeds were picking it up already, live feeds of the events closest to the Hearth Fleet. Callie could see the blue sky again, the escape pod bobbing along the clouds. Several Kraken were visible as well, maintaining a perimeter around the pods. There were hundreds of them, forming an unbroken circle of twisting tentacles. Beyond them, she could see the lights of Venus 1, but the platform itself was too deep, sinking faster than ever. It would soon be too deep for its guide lights to be seen at all. There was no conversation in the pod. Their fate was unclear, herded off the platform to float among the clouds. No certainty of rescue, and no information from the Kraken. All they could do was wait. Settling in for the long haul seemed a wise move, so Callie got herself comfortable, strapping in and retrieving her favourite pillow from her bags. A sudden change in the Kraken ring drew everyone's attention, splitting into a line and turning their weapons at the distant lights of the platform. She pressed her face to the window. The same was happening in other pods, all looking at the Kraken or the platform. As soon as they were in position, they became still, as though suddenly petrified, hanging there in the clouds, waiting for something. Barely 2 minutes passed before there was an immense roar from the Kraken, calling out in unison,
"Venus remains forever!"
so loud that the pods rocked in the wake of their voices, a crescendo of the call being the firing of their weapons. Thousands of streaks pierced the clouds, lances of destruction striking the distant platform. The Kraken had fired 4 times when Venus 1 began to glow. Its reactors breached. The whole thing became a shining spire in the night. The window suddenly darkened to protect their eyes from the flash of light, thrusters firing to prevent the pods crashing together. The violent winds rocked the pod, making Callie glad she strapped in. Ged looked up at the main monitors. All the crew were, even the general. The glow of explosions filled Venus's clouds. The terraforming platforms were gone, their reactors blazing glow, dimming to nothingness within a minute, the last echo of light lingering in his eyes. The crew around him began to sit, not exactly sad, almost relieved. It seemed like a good time to depart.